Hi everyone. We're very happy to be live with Graham Smith. Start us off with an intro to you and your books, Graham.
Hi, my name's Graham Smith. I am an author. I've had 18 books published before. And on Friday, I have my next two books published. They are The Flood and The Island. Now, for those of you who are very observant, you will have noticed that I've gone with my initials this time, GN Smith, rather than Graham Smith. This is a decision I made alongside my publisher. Because it was a new series and we just wanted to differentiate. But it's still the same old grumpy bald man who wrote these books as all the previous ones. They feature a new detective, uh, well, a new lead. I shouldn't call her a detective because she's not. She's just your run-of-the-mill police officer. But in both books, she finds herself in a what ends up as a locked environment while hunting killers. Um, really enjoyed writing them as they gave me a chance to test a character, not just mentally with the vagaries of the case, but physically with um, horrible weather situations thrown in that would further challenge Fiona as she hunted the killers. That's a very brief or overly wordy intro from me. Um, Always glad to have these sessions in the UK Crime Book Club. It's a wonderful resource for readers and authors, um, bloggers, basically anyone connected with crime fiction. And I wish I had more time to spend in there and get involved in the chats and so on. So that's kind of my bad. But when I'm not in there, I am working on books one way or another, trying to keep you guys entertained. So that's me.
Brilliant. We've already got some hellos from Sam, Sarah Blackburn, and Donna Morfitt. Well, Donna's just said, "Hey Kaz, hey Trouble."
Hello, Donna. Good to hear from you again. And you, Sarah. It was nice meeting you with Caroline at Harrogate. Hope you enjoyed that festival and you get to many more.
Yeah, Sarah's great. I've met up with her at a couple of festivals now.
Yeah, well, we just
Always.
had a brief intro, but I've kind of connected on Twitter and so on as well a wee bit. So, yeah.
Do you want to tell? Because before we went live, you were telling me about your kind of road trip that you did for research. Do you want to tell everyone about that? That was
Yes, because I turned 50 last year, I decided I was going to explore some parts of Scotland that I'd never visited before. Basically, what I had a rough idea of where I wanted to go, but I was going to do it as a will of the wisp and basically follow the bonnet of the car. If I seen a road sign that interested me, I would follow it. I didn't begin to look for a bed for the night till 3 o'clock in the afternoon of any given day, which may send some of you into palpitations, but it was wonderfully liberating as well. One of the most fantastic journeys I've ever taken was coming north from Glasgow, but up the west side of Loch Lomond, and then took a road to the left, which is known as the Rest and Be Thankful. And it was an absolutely stunning drive where every time I went round the corner over the brow of a hill, I was just assaulted by yet another magnificent view. It was fantastic. And on that day in particular, I researched the location for two novels. The first location was the island of Ling, which features heavily in, well, features totally in this um, novel. And it's accessed by driving over the Clachan Bridge. Now, the Clachan Bridge is pretty much like that. When you're at the top, cresting over here, all you can see is the bonnet of the car and the sky. You can't see if there's anything coming up, so you're creeping over the top at like 2 miles an hour, ready to jump on the brakes. It's actually a bridge over the Atlantic. It's only 150 meters long, but it takes you to the island of Sail. Then from Sail, you go right down and you take the Belnahua. Probably butchered that pronunciation, but you take that ferry across to the island of Ling. And I was on Ling. It was a beautiful, sunny, crisp, cold December day, but it was beautiful blue skies. And what a fantastic experience it was to walk around, drive around the island, researching the various locations, getting a feel for the island itself. And I mean, its history dates back to Bronze Age. It's been settled that long. It's a former slate isle. They used to mine slate there for roofs and so on, and it was fantastic. On that same day, I also managed to park up and examine, basically from the bottom of the glen, the Munro Benbuie, which is not spelled anything like it sounds. That features heavily in book 3 in the series, The Shelter. But coming on round, passed through Inverary, lots of little towns and hamlets, and stopped for half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, and took a look around the beautiful village of Loch Gilphead, which is where Fiona lives, my character. So it was nice just to get a wee feel for that location as well, because that's where she works out of and where she lives. So basically hit 3 birds with the 1 stone in that day. It was just fantastic. It's a day I'll remember until they screw the coffin lid down. It was just such stunningly beautiful part of Scotland. So yeah, it was one hell of a day's driving and just sightseeing and generally being a tourist, but with a little bit of specific purpose in mind for the novels.
You've got a lot of people on here chatting about wanting to explore Scotland. But Noelle has asked, do you choose your book locations based on where you want to travel? And then she said, sounds like a good plan.
To a degree, yes and no. I mean, Loch Gilphead, Benbuie, the island of Ling, I'd kind of chosen them before I planned the road trip. And because I did it as a will o' the wisp, I might never have made it to those locations if something else had caught my eye. I also had a wonderful trip right down to the most southerly part of Scotland on the road trip. And sometimes places inspire you. Sometimes you have the idea for a book and you need to find the right place. But yeah, I would like to be able to think, right, I want to set a book there. That's just an excuse to go and visit it. That would be good fun, but it would mean I would have to get Fiona out of uniform into plain clothes and then have her as a roving detective, because a lot of the way that Police Scotland works is that, say there's a murder in Gretna, specialist murder team will come down from Glasgow. It's not like a local CID in the area. Everything's centralised and specialist teams are sent out from Glasgow, Edinburgh, possibly Aberdeen or Inverness in the north. But that's the way. So it would be nice, but I would have to do a wee bit of creative thinking. And Fiona's not a detective yet. She's still a police constable, although becoming a detective is definitely her one day.
So it could happen.
It could happen. Might have to write 2 or 3 books in the meantime before I can make that happen. However, there's lots of stories in my head. Some would work very well in a small place like Loch Gilphead. Others I might need to take to a wider environment. But so far, with the flood in the island, the locked room environment is something I've tried hard to create, that no one can get in to help her. None of the suspects can easily escape either. So essentially, I mean, in the flood, 5 or 6 households all end up in the one house, and they're all kind of neighbours and so on. So you've got the friendships and enmities that go on between people who all live in the same area, because there's an awful lot of people who really, really don't get on with their neighbours. And Noelle's one of them. I think she has some troubles from time to time with her neighbours. So yeah, there's all kinds of back and forward about this kind of thing.
I think it's interesting when you use like the location to help you with the story. So you're making it so that people can't come in to help her. She's got to solve it on her own, kind of by how you're using where she's set.
Yeah, I mean, that's great fun, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And because you've got the weather systems coming in and everything as well, in the flood, the phone lines went down. They're in a valley where there's no signal, so she can't even phone and ask for help, you know, or even advice. That I took that away from her. It back to being an old school copper, using only her brain. No forensics, no lab reports, no DNA tests, nothing like that. It's all about her understanding of people and the various relationships and everything. So I did find that really interesting, and it almost took it back 50 years, shall we say, when the copper on the scene had to solve it, because it wasn't easy to summon help.
Yeah, that sounds. What kind of inspired you to start the new series?
Um, well, basically, I had the idea for the flood for quite a while, and I had always, excuse me, wanted to write a real kind of whodunit novel where you've got your bundle of characters all assembled, and one of them's a killer. You know, if you think back to some of your older cozy mysteries and so on, that kind of thing. But I also seen a news report flooding in Somerset or wherever, and you could see like 3 square miles of brown water, and there's 3 or 4 roofs poking out of it, and then on the high ground there's this 2-story house that's still dry, and that really inspired me to think, which the big what if that led to the whole novel is, what if everybody went to that house for shelter, but a lot of them didn't like each other? What if they'd already clashed? What if they not so much weren't friends, but were actual enemies? You know, how long before people point the finger, blame game, and all the rest of it? I found that very interesting. I discussed it with my editor at the time, Isabel Enoch. Yeah, I really like that, Graham. How about we write it as a new series, you know, introduce new character and do that? And I want to put it in a valley, because if it was on those plains and everything, it would then be very easy for a helicopter to come in or whatever. You know, that they would see the house, there might be helicopters going around, they would see it, they would wave torches or whatever and get help. Whereas putting it in a remote valley where you've got wind buffeting always, you know, from the contours of the land, it makes it much harder for help to come. You know, by rights, that valley shouldn't have flooded. It had never flooded before. but events that are explained in the book show why it's flooded this time. So these people technically should never have been at risk. Therefore, nobody's worried about them. Nobody's thinking, oh, the valley up there will have flooded. We need to go and rescue them, because it's a first-time event, shall we say. So I thought that was very interesting to have these people marooned with a killer in their midst.
And an interesting one as well, because the people aren't used to the idea of flooding. Like you've also got your characters kind of already uneasy because of a new thing that's happened to them that they wouldn't have been expecting.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a devastating thing to have your home destroyed as well, so everyone's got heightened emotions before they walk through that farmhouse door. My aunt was flooded out when Carlisle had the floods in 2005. The water was chest deep in her house. So I know of all the heartache and everything that goes into dealing with flooding. Yes, your house might be insured, but that doesn't replace precious sentimental items. So there was all that kind of emotional thinking behind wanting it to be a flood, to not just threaten them, but to steal something from each of the characters as well. And of course, because it's the first time it's ever happened in that location, fingers get pointed as to why it's happened, which is just me being horrible and creating more tension and drama and everything for all the characters to deal with.
You're piquing people's interests about the books. People have said that like classic locked room mystery styles. Leslie said she likes back to basics in a modern setting. There is quite a current kind of trend in crime novels as well, isn't there? People liking that sort of modern setting, but kind of more golden age, classical kind of style.
It is definitely kind of on trend at the moment, shall we say? I mean, if anyone's ever seen the way I dress, they know I know nothing about trends and fashions and what's in or out. But yeah, it seems to be a wee bit of a resurgence of the cozy mystery, shall we say. And anyone who's read a number of my books will think this is probably the tamest I've written, because the kills aren't deliberately horrific, although it has to be said that any taking of a life is horrific, but nowhere near as brutal as some of the murders I've written in the past.
Sorry, carry on.
No, you go on.
I was going to say, it seems the last time we were talking on here, I'm sure your novel had been set in America, and you'd gone quite thriller.
Yeah.
So it's quite a change back to.
I mean, I'd always wanted to write something set in Scotland. But before I could write anything with a copper in set in Scotland, I had to do a bit of research. I've been very fortunate that the lovely Paula Morrow, who is a massage therapist who straightens the kinks out of my neck with absolutely no mercy. She's an ex-copper and she's great to give advice. I'm able to pick her brain when she's bending me in ways I'm not supposed to be bent. It's great so that I got that bit of research, and as much as I love writing the thrillers and the high octane stuff, I also enjoy writing a good mystery, something that taxes my brain, as well as hopefully the readers while they try and work it out. But when you're writing a mystery, for me certainly, I can't speak for other authors, but I go through an awful lot of second guessing. Is this too obvious? is this too hard? Because I know the solution, because I'm right there, I'm pushing towards the solution. And if I do my job right, I believe the reader should be able to work things out a few pages before the hero. If I've been able to do my job right, then a good, astute reader of a crime novel should be able to work out who the killer is. But it's really hard to know that you're getting the balance right between leaving clues that an intelligent reader, and let's face it, most readers are intelligent. In fact, they all are. Why am I saying most? That's terrible. Sorry for those who may have felt excluded there. Readers are intelligent, especially crime readers. They know some of the tricks that we authors pull and employ. So if they can, it's trying to set it so that most readers will be able to work it out with the detective, or they're not so far behind. Although it is nice to blindside them with a good twist, you know. But the best twists are the ones, oh my God, I should have seen that coming. It's not, I've never seen that coming. It's when you realise, oh, I should have seen that coming. I should have been able to work that out. Because when I think back, these clues are all there in the background. Sorry, are we way off at a tangent there?
It was a really good. I've got a follow-up question to it. I'm going to read you what Linda said first. So
Yeah.
Linda Wright said she's seeing Paula tomorrow and she's going to tell her you mentioned her.
I'm guessing that's Linda Wright. Hello, Linda. Thanks for stepping in. Don't you grass me up to Paula, because she'll take it out on me the next time. She's no mercy as it is. I'm terrified to see her if she's got a grudge on me.
I'm really interested in what you were saying about the reader sort of working it out just a bit ahead of the hero. I think that was a fascinating thing you said. But how do you know? How do you know when you're going back and reading it? When do you realize that you've got to that point?
I think you just kind of have to trust instinct, and that's where all the second guessing comes from. Is it too obvious? Just to use a wee analogy, if I may, if you set a crossword puzzle for me to solve, Caroline, you would know the answers in advance. You would think, oh, that's too easy, or that's too hard. You would second guess yourself on whether or not I can solve your crossword puzzle. But you know all the answers. So that makes you think, oh, it's not that hard. And then you have to think, right, okay, well, I know the answers. I know why it's this. I know that I've seeded something in chapter whatever to give this kind of bit of a clue. And then you start second guessing. Is it too easy? Is it too hard? Will it be too obscure? Will people get this little reference? Will they notice this little thing? And when it all boils down to, you kind of have to trust your instinct. You can put a few of these little signposts in and then just leave it. Some readers will get it. Some readers won't get it. But there was a wonderful novel by the fantastic Mo Hayder. I think it was called Hanging Hill. And about a third of the way through that novel, I was right. That's it. He's the killer. He's the killer. That's the one. Definitely. And then about 40 pages later, no, I was wrong. I was wrong. Totally. It's not him. It's not. I was wrong. It's got to be one of these other three. Turns out I was right all the way along. But she made me doubt myself, which I thought was brilliant. That was brilliant literary device, literary skill. And if I had a hat, I'd take it off her. Fantastic author, sadly no longer with us. But if you're looking for a good book to read and you don't go for one of mine, try one of Mo Hayder's.
Well said. I think crime writing and teaching have a lot in common.
Yeah.
You know the answers, but it's how you get people to find them.
Yeah.
Tricky. You spend a lot of time trying to work out if you've done it right.
Yeah.
Donna said, do you use beta and ARC readers to determine if you've done it right?
Usually, yes, on this series, because I was overconfident when discussing deadlines with my editor. I only got the Flood beta read before sending it off to the editor. The Island and the Shelter were just on me and on the editorial team at Bookouture. But yes, normally I would use beta readers for feedback, kind of give them standard questions after they've read it, just to pick their brains and find out how they are enjoying things, really, and if they worked it out, and if they did work it out, what clues helped them work it out. Also, when they worked it out. You know, if I got it on page 5,
You made it too easy.
Yeah. And again, it can be things like certain NetGalley. If you've got 20 NetGalley reviews and one says, oh, worked it out on page 3 who was the killer, and the other 19 say, I was blown away when I found out who the killer was at the end, then you kind of go with the 19. You know, you have to assess averages, really. It sounds horrible and formulaic, horribly calculated, but it's a fact. If the majority of people are enjoying it, not getting the twist, not foreseeing the twist, or able to work out who the killer is, then you listen to the 19, not the 1.
I think this is where we're seeing your experience so as a writer, because you've got all those books out. This is actually probably really useful for anyone watching like Sam who wants to write a book.
Yeah,
Because I
well,
think like there's some really fascinating kind of things coming out about how you think and write that are probably very useful.
yeah. Cool. Well, thank you very much. It's very kind of you to say. At the risk of doing a horrible plug, but I know my publicists will probably be watching, I am prepared to give away one copy of both of these books to one person who can comment on the thread below with a question, book related to any of my novels, that gets me a laugh. So the first person who can put a comment there that will make me laugh, I will post a copy of The Island and the Flood to.
Oh, excellent. I reckon Donna or Sarah have got this one in the bag.
Now, let's see what they've got.
Let's see, yeah. It's on you guys now.
Yeah.
You're making my job easier, Graham. Thanks.
Well, it's always good to have some fun with this as well. I do feel I've been talking very serious and stern, and I've got a grumpy face, so might as well have some fun as well.
Sarah wanted to know how you keep track of your characters.
Right. Well, I know each of the leads quite intimately from having spent months or years writing about them. When writing a particular novel, I'm horrible, I'm anal, I have a spreadsheet, and I will have, say, Caroline, I'll know what Caroline's husband will be called, there'll be a brief description what Caroline looks like, and then I'll do the same for Bob and Betty and Jim and all the rest of it. I keep notes on them. If there's any characters that are recurring in a series, I will copy and paste what I already know about them into the spreadsheet for the next document, for the next manuscript or story. And it just helps me keep things consistent because my memory's terrible. You know, in fact, I've got to the point now where I try not to give people hair colours or eye colours because I forget. They could have 15 different colours of hair by the time the novel's written. And it's just one more thing that I can get wrong.
Well, to be
So
fair, if you're writing, some people do change that. I've had about 5 different hair colours this year, so
yeah,
mm,
that's okay. But if in a novel like The Flood, which takes place in 12 hours in a Loch Valley,
yeah, you don't want to make it up there. But
you can't have a different hair colour every third chapter. That would just show my stupidity.
Sarah has said, "Will you send Fiona to the cinema to see Barbie?"
Sorry,
Sarah said, "Will you send Fiona to the cinema to see Barbie?"
I wouldn't think she'll go. No, she's well, she's not exactly a tomboy, but I don't think she's a girly girl either. You know, no, I can't see that. No. Plus, it's a long way. There's no real cinema in Lockgill Heads, so she has to drive to Oban.
Fair enough. Worth it for Barbie though.
Uh, you might think so. It's not a movie I've seen or will ever rush out to see. But again, personal taste. Everyone's welcome to an opinion.
True, true. Donna said, "Have you ever given a character a trait, mannerism, or behaviour you've regretted by the end of the book?"
No, not really, because I think that these things are very much individual to the character, and they make the character who they are. The closest I've came to having a regret would be with the Harry Evans series, and I gave him a dog, Tripod. It's a three-legged rescue dog that, because he's that kind of person, he named the dog Tripod. And as soon as I got so far in the book, I've realised someone's going to have to feed Tripod. Someone's going to have to let Tripod out. And so on, because Harry's away busy being Harry Evans, a copper kicking down doors and so on. So I always had to think that way. And I know Mike Craven's had similar things with Poe's dog, Edgar. It is Edgar, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's had to, he's always had to think to make sure that Edgar's looked after. And rightly so. Um, but it's just one of those things that you have to think of and put in. And is it really essential to the story that we know that Harry Evans' sister's letting the dog out? No, of course not. But by the same token, we don't want readers worrying about Tripod, and I know Mike doesn't want them worrying about Edgar either. So that's a little thing that, looking back, I might change. I maybe would have changed. But I also think that the fact that he named the three-legged dog Tripod says so much about him as a character as well. And he does have a couple of moments with Tripod where the mask slips, shall we say. So
Okay.
I don't fully regret giving him Tripod, but maybe if he talked to a goldfish, I would have had less caring to think about.
Well, you'd still have to have someone who fed the goldfish occasionally.
Yeah.
Donna says, "If you got all your characters together and sent them on a boozy night out, who'd be the last one standing?"
Harry Evans, without a doubt. He'd be the biggest drinker, although he's a gobby bugger, so he might end up in a fight with Boulder or Fletcher, so anything could happen, really. To do drinking, Harry Evans would outdrink them all, and then go for a pint when he'd seen them off.
Good answer. I like how you didn't even have to think about that. Like you've already planned that somehow. Like in your head, you already kind of knew which one would be the one.
But you asked, or maybe someone else's, but about, do I know all my characters? Yes, I know them intimately. I would know them if I met them walking down the street. Yet I've only ever described Harry Evans's face once or twice, Beth a couple of times. I've never really put a face on Boulder or Fletcher. but I would recognise them if I walked down the street and seen them. And that's quite weird. I mean, technically, I don't know what Fiona McLeish looks like. I've written 3 novels featuring her, the thick end of 300,000 words, and I've never described her looks. I've never said, if she's got an upturned nose or high cheekbones, squint teeth. I've never said any of that. I think she, at one point, describes herself as average looking. But who's to say what average is? So, but again, I think if I walked into a crowded restaurant, she was sitting at a table, I think I would recognise her, which is quite weird because I've just said I don't know what she looks like, but I still feel as if I would recognise her.
Sarah said, did you base Auntie Mary on a friend or family member?
No, not really. I mean, Sheila Quigley wrote this wonderful character called Aunt May for one of the series of novels that she wrote. And that was always a little bit of her in there, because that Aunt May was a lovely woman, a lovely character, but strong, and that inner strength. So there'd be little bits of Aunt May made it into Aunt Mary, but I suppose my own aunts, I've got some wonderful aunts and uncles who I firmly believe would have stepped up for me the way that Aunt Mary stepped up for Fiona. God, heaven forbid that what happened to Fiona happened to me. But I know the kind of person that Aunt Mary is, and I know them very well. I'm so lucky I have so many in my family. And yeah, there's no doubt that Aunt Mary is probably an amalgamation of all my aunts and uncles, because they're all good stand-up people with solid values and so on. I suppose in the family I'm the daft uncle.
I mean, that's an admission to aim for, isn't it? I always think
Yeah.
I'm happy being the irresponsible kind of auntie.
Aye.
Plies them with sugar and teaches them all the things they shouldn't know.
Absolutely.
That's the one that you want to be, really, isn't it?
Oh, the fun one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the right mission in life. Borrowing one of Sam's questions, if Netflix came along or Amazon and they're going to adapt all of your books, what character would you want to play?
Ooh. Oh, I'd like to think I could have played Boulder or Fletcher, but I'm neither fit enough nor tough enough, or young enough either now, if we're honest, to play them. I'd probably end up Harry Evans, running around, driving too fast, smoking, shouting and swearing. That kind of seems like me. So that would possibly be the one for me. But I have the acting ability of a broken pen. I'd be useless. I think it would be better for everyone if I was an extra and I let a proper actor take the role.
I think they do as part of, I'm sure I've heard some, it might have been from Mike Craven, so I don't know how true this is. But I think they do say that, if you get your thing on Netflix, for instance, that you get a cameo if you're the author.
Quite possibly. I mean, Lee Child had a cameo in one of the Reacher movies.
Jane Harper did in one of her adaptations.
Yeah. But no, I'd just be someone sitting in a cafe reading a book while sipping a coffee or something. Keep me in the background, out the way of things. No, I'm not one for that kind of limelight. I'd be quite happy just to let the professionals do the acting, and I'll sip the coffee and read the book.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. What have you read this year that you've really enjoyed?
Oh, I've read a number of good books. Fearless by Mike Craven. Currently reading The Murmurs by Michael J. Malone, and that's brilliant. It's up to his incredibly high standards, as always. Devil's Playground by Craig Russell is also very good. I think gone through so many. In the Dead of Winter by Stuart McBride is another recent one. Yeah, I'm just enjoying reading. I don't, because I'm in a wee lull between writing projects, I'm catching up on my reading. I don't tend to read a lot of fiction when I'm writing fiction. I still work away at it, but it's more like 5-8 pages a day rather than 60, 70, 100 pages a day when I'm not writing. So, yeah, but there's lots of fantastic books out there. Just lucky that I get the time to read them.
Yeah, there is. Devil's Playground. Amazing. Like such a
Yeah.
good concept as well.
Oh, it is. Craig's a wonderful writer, absolutely fantastic. I've read pretty much everything he's ever released. Maybe a couple of the Jan Fable books. But yeah, lucky enough to call Craig a friend as well. So that's nice.
Yeah, it is. I haven't read everything he's written, but I've got a couple on my like to be our pile.
Yeah.
Because at our live event, I got a nice package of like Scottish writers and books from
Oh, cool.
admin, which is quite nice. But I'm like slowly working my way through them. And there are a couple of Craig Russells in there.
Aye.
Donna said she keeps hearing amazing things, and I was going to come to that. I was seamlessly linking into it from our live event link. She's hearing amazing things about your crime and publishment course. Are you doing it again next year?
Yes, I'm doing it again next year. I need to get the website sorted, need to get it up and running. But I'm hoping by the middle of October at the absolute latest, I'll be putting word out about it. But I have Mary Hannah, Ed James, Lisa Gray, and Ollie Munson, the agent. They're my headline speakers, and promises to be a weekend packed with learning and laughter as always. So I will get the website up to date and get everything pushed out on that very shortly, but work's kind of manic at the moment. But
yeah.
Sorry, go on.
It's a really incredible thing what you do with the crime and publishment course. Like really supportive of.
It is. I'm blown away by the success and camaraderie of the group. I think we're up at something like 18 or 19 people who've signed a publishing contract for the first time after attending. And that just amazes me, and, some of the success stories, Mike Craven and all his many, many awards, which I have to say are deserved, because he's a fantastic writer. Amit Dand doing brilliantly well. A lot of others are setting up the fire. We've had a couple announced this year, this last 2 or 3 weeks even, winning competitions and get representation of book deals and so on. And it's fantastic. I'm so proud of the whole gang as a group and a collective, whatever term is the most appropriate. They have done so well. And that they work together. There's a real pool of knowledge from different professions within the group, that people help each other out. They beat a read for each other. They brainstorm ideas and so on. So yeah, the whole group has done incredibly well. And I don't expect it to stop here. I think they're going to keep going. They're going to keep soaring.
Yeah, but it's thanks to people like you helping with it that's happening.
Well, I like to think that I can show people a window of opportunity. It's then up to them to climb through that window. You know, it's their achievement, not mine. I've just made it. I've just pointed them the way.
Donna has said, will you accept bribes or offer a firstborn in lieu of payment for it? Asking for a friend.
Absolutely not. It is. It is something I put on at the hotel as part of the business. The weekend has to stand on its own merits financially. Otherwise, I can't justify running it as part of my business plan. So sorry, Donna. No.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I've just, you said ask all the wild questions, so I'm reading you all of them out.
Yeah.
Noelle said Sharon and herself are crime and publishment success stories and go back every year. It's amazing.
Yeah, they do. It's some of the stalwarts, such as Noelle, Sharon, Linda, who was asking questions before. They help make crime and publishment what it is. There's a real camaraderie. We all of us that are there regularly, we work hard to befriend and integrate people who are coming perhaps for the first time and don't know anyone. You know, because I've been to these kind of business events or whatever, where you walk into the room and you can see 15 cliques, you end up standing talking to the other stranger who's the same kind of thing. I'm very, very much against that. I like people to mix. I want them to be supportive of each other, to help each other. And to that end, I work when planning the groups to have a mixture of old faces and new faces as much as possible. And I do all I can to integrate anyone coming for their very first time or their second time.
Sounds great. Really,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of planning going into that to be able to do that.
It's more than just turning up, saying a few words. There definitely is that aspect of it. But by the same token, I know from my own experiences what I want the weekend to be. You know, so I use myself as a barometer. I've been uneasy walking into a room and not knowing anyone to talk to and so on. And there's always some nice people that you can talk to. But I've made it easy for people to befriend each other. I do all I can to split the cliques up. I mean, Sharon and Noelle, I know they're great friends, so they go into different groups. They can talk in their own time.
Fair enough. Sarah said, is there a place that Fiona likes to eat and drink in Lockgill Head? Did they get a mention in your books?
Yeah, there's one particular place features at the end of. I'm trying not to give spoilers now. There's one particular place where she goes. It's called Marco's. It's an Italian restaurant. Marco speaks Italian with a Scottish accent and English with an Italian one. He's got more bonhomie than any one man should own. That's the place where Fiona likes to dine out.
Is that a real place or?
No, it's fictitious.
Oh.
It's somewhere I made up, but yeah, I'd kind of like to visit it myself.
I know, it just sounds great, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Linda Wright says, who are you calling old? I think it's because you called her an old stalwart of the crime and publishment thing. She's coming after you.
You are coming after me, Linda. Shall we just say that I would never dare call you old to your face or behind your back or ever.
Oh, that's
That's actually got me laughing because I know she's trying to wind me up here as well. At the moment, Linda's in line to win 2 books because she's actually making me laugh here with that comment.
She's doing well.
Aye. Do you have any other comments that will maybe get a good laugh out of me?
I think I've read you nearly all of the comments that there is in here. Donna said, well, I think this is from when I asked you who you play. Donna said that you would have to be Auntie Mary because she'd look very fetching in a dress.
Yeah. Nah, it's not happening, Donna.
Malcolm's just said good evening.
Right. Malcolm Hollandry?
Yeah.
Yeah, hi Malcolm, how you doing? Long time no speak.
Where else? So your books are coming out on Friday.
Yeah.
2 at the same time. We were talking about this before we went live, weren't we? And one in November. Yeah, good time, good chance to do another plug of them.
Yeah. Thank you.
What have you got planned for the release day? You got any kind of other events coming up?
Not big. I'm talking in another Facebook group next week on Sunday, I think it is. I have, because the books are digital, there's no kind of big hurrah, and technically for me the book's 19 and 20 as well. So when you bring out quite as many as I do in a short space of time, it's not easy to round up people that's willing to come out every 3-4 months. So I'll do some online things, and then I'll spend time with my girlfriend after work on launch day. Maybe have a glass of something interesting just to raise a toast to Fiona and hopefully her success as a literary character.
Well, fingers crossed. You've got good reviews though coming in from NetGalley and stuff, so that's a good sign.
Aye. There's a lot of positives. I'm really heartened by the supportive feedback of NetGalley and Amazon and everywhere as well when it comes through, you know. Just can't stress enough how important reviews are. You know, if you enjoy a book, go on Amazon, leave a few, 2 or 3 lines. We're not asking you to be no coward with your review. If you just put, this is a great book, I loved it, can't wait for the next one, that's fantastic. Do that with 4 or 5 stars, you'll make the author's day. You really will.
Good advice. Sarah says she loves reading your books, and it was fantastic to see you at Harrogate, especially when she had her e-reader on her with your books on.
Oh, that's lovely. It was great to meet Sarah too.
Donna says you need to shout more. She had no idea your books were on NetGalley. Linda said, seriously, Graham is single-handedly responsible for more crime writers starting on their journey to publication than anyone else I know, and we're all very grateful.
Oh, that's very kind of Linda.
But I think she's expressed it really well, though, because I think things like the crime and publishment course are probably a lot more influential than you are willing to take the credit for, if that makes sense.
I just put people in a room and let them learn and do. It's fantastic that people give me credit for it. But like I said earlier, I just show them where the window of opportunity. The window of opportunities.
But it takes a lot of effort to organise an event, even just to give people the opportunity, doesn't it? You know.
It does take a wee bit, but I'm one of these people that always needs something to do, because I get into trouble if I've nothing to do. That's a given.
Yeah, I'm the same, and I work better if I've got about 10 million things to do at once. Or by like the next day.
Yeah, they do say if you want something done, ask a busy person, because they just add it to the list and do it. Whereas someone who's no else to do Well, they're busy relaxing. They don't want to be given a job.
Fair enough. Sarah says the shelter was unputdownable and she read it in a day.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. Thank you for that, Sarah. Yeah, I had a lot of fun writing The Shelter. Kind of went off piste a wee bit. I had the full outline, pretty much a tenth of a novel written as an outline. And by chapter 4, I'd thrown the outline away and I just kind of remembered the key points from it and just kind of busked it. And Fiona was speaking to me. She was telling me that the outline was wrong and I needed to do it a different way. So I kind of listened to her. But yeah, the Shelter was good fun, and unputdownable is a fantastic word. You know, to hear that someone's read a book in a day, that's very humbling. You know, so thank you for that, Sarah. I hope that if I write another book after The Shelter, you would feel it's the same, as good as the same, because whenever I'm writing a book, it has to be better than the last one. I want to improve, improve my craft, improve my readers' enjoyment of the story. So that's where I'm at with that. But no, that's lovely and very humbling. Thank you for that, Sarah. And I've got an itchy nose.
I'm going to guess this is Noelle because I can't, it just says Facebook user, but it says Graham was a kick-ass behind my debut.
That would say that the language is certainly the kind of thing that Noelle would use.
It's Sharon, apparently.
Yeah.
It's Sharon Bairden, apparently.
Oh, was it Sharon? Yeah. Well, they do say that the pair of them are twins. So.
Yeah, well, the comments have just gone, it's Sharon, but also true. And then they said that they're twins.
Mm.
No, you've got 2 minutes left of our chat. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you this evening. Remind people what they're going away to buy. Plug those books again. You've got them there. Show us all the covers.
You've got them to hand. It's not the first time I've done this, you see.
Yeah,
so I'm going to hide my ugly face. First of all, we have The Flood, which comes out
this
on...
way.
Oh, that way?
Yeah, got it.
Comes out on Friday. Available from Amazon. It's only a couple of quid. You can't get a coffee for that. You're lucky if you can get half a beer for that. And then for the other half of the beer or the coffee, we have The Island. Okay, 2 books, 4 quid. Come on, help a hungry old author out. Buy these books, enjoy them, enjoy the reading pleasure. You know, I can be found on various places in social media if you've got any questions or bits and pieces like that. There's a 3rd book out, comes 2nd of November, called The Shelter. It's currently getting some rave reviews on NetGalley. And yeah, thank you to all you readers, to Caroline and the rest of the admin team at UKCBC. They've always been great supporters, great friends to me. And of course, all you guys watching this, the readers, everyone who is part of the community. I will try and spend more time among you all. I know it's a bit of a false promise because I am kind of busy. I run a hotel and wedding venue as a day job. I wrote the 3 Fiona books inside 12 months as well. So I don't have a lot of time for social media, which is something I am trying to rectify, but I'm going to make no promises because I'm rubbish and I don't want to lie to you guys. If you don't see me on social media, it's because I'm writing the books.
Which is a good thing. We want you writing the books as well, don't we? So we can't argue.
No, you can't. So anyway, thank you very much to one and all. Caroline especially for hosting tonight. Linda did make me laugh the most with "Who are you calling old?" because I knew she'd be giggling when she typed it. So Linda wins it. Well done to all the others who asked questions, and I'll make sure that Linda gets these books. So again, thank you very much, everyone. You've been brilliant. Thanks, Caroline.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Cheers.